always going to have fires. I don't think there will ever come a day where we won't have a fire in a community. But if we can reduce the likelihood of those preventable fires, whether it's through fire sprinkler systems or who knows what the next technology out there is going to be, we're definitely well ahead of the curve. And as Chief Mulligan said, it's obviously going to take a change in mindset. You know, there's a lot of adversarial views between home builders and fire service, and I'm not going to get into all that, and I'm not going to get into all the statistics. We could be here for days. But there's been that adversarial effect between the two industries, and to me, it's a shame that it's gotten to that point. You know, it really needs to be about community fire risk reduction more so than the almighty dollar. Sorry, my computer's a little cold. Myths and facts. You know, a lot of people talk about the water damage. You know, the reality of it is, typically, if one of these heads go off, you're going to have maybe 8 to 10 gallons of water discharge out of that head during the course of that fire incident. Versus when we come in and the house is fully involved, or we have a room and contents type fire situation, we can put anywhere from 50 to 125 plus gallons of water on that fire pretty quick, without a drop of a hat. False activation. There's a lot of misnomers about false activation. You know, if I burn some toast, my sprinkler head's going to go off and my whole house is going to get flooded and all of that. That's not true. It's only based on the heat temperature sensor of that head, and these heads are rated at 165 degrees. So at 165 degrees, and what I wanted to show you was, and we'll get into aesthetics and appearance, but basically this is a drop head, and part of the aesthetics of it is this cap that goes on top. At 125 degrees, this cap will fall away. The head will then drop down out of this little container here, and there's a 165 degree fusible link inside that head. Once that temperature reaches 165 degrees, that head will activate. That head won't activate, that head won't activate, that head, the bedroom, none of those heads will activate. It will only be over the seat of the fire. And most of the time, statistically, it is shown that nowadays, originally sprinklers were designed for life-saving purposes and not so much in the property conservation arena. But statistics have shown that with the new technology and the different designs that are out there now, the fires are pretty much out by the time the fire crews actually get there. They're just there to put out a couple little hot spots, but the bulk of the fire is pretty well out at that point in time. So, the cost. As Chief Mulligan said, you know, the National Institute for Safety and Technology did a study last year, and they're showing somewhere around $1.61 per sprinkler square foot, or roughly about 1% of the overall construction cost. But there are trade-offs. Again, with residential fire sprinkler systems, the code takes that into consideration. You don't have to build as big of infrastructure or rehabilitation of infrastructures, which we're doing a lot here in town right now, for fire protection. And again, one of the biggest things right now, and that's my next challenge after this, is to get with the insurance companies and see what kind of risk or cost reduction we can get for homeowners insurance premiums. It is a new thing in Salina, residential fire sprinklers. I've talked to a couple different agents, and we're going to sit down and meet and talk about it and see what kind of advantages we can get for reduction in insurance premiums as well. Again, sprinkler system isn't the only answer. It's part of the total fire system. We're always going to have smoke detectors. Without smoke detectors, you have to have that smoke detector or smoke alarm there for that early notification component. Obviously, with that, the exit drills. You still want to have a good exit drill in place, you know, because if your smoke detector goes off, you still want to get out. You don't want to wait in the house for the temperature to get to the point where the head actually activates. So it's always a good component to have the exit drills in the home, are also known as EDIT. Have a meeting place, and we'll talk more as we get ready to move in and stuff. But you know, have an exit plan in place. You know where you're going to go, know where you're going to meet, so your family's all there, and you know when we get on scene whether or not there's still somebody in the house, or we need to look for pets or children or whatever it may be. So again, that's part of that total fire protection package. Again, community risk reduction. Just some of the things that I've looked at personally through my training and education is the big obstacle, as I can see it right now, is just a change in the whole cultural mindset. And it's even in the fire service. You hear some firemen say, you know, what are you trying to do? Put us out of business with sprinkler systems. Well, like I said before, we're never going to be without fire. Fire will always be around. Demographics and dynamics. You know, we need to look at In this day and age, our population is living longer, our elderly people are staying at home longer. You know, we need to look at that. One of my next components as well is going back and seeing what the cost is to retrofit a home, to see what that cost difference is between new construction and retrofitting. You know, maybe we can get in there and balance that cost between new and retrofitting, and get some sprinkler systems put in some existing residences. Economic assumptions, again, we're talking about the cost of the sprinkler system, the cost of the maintenance. Again, to me, to put it in simple terms, what's the cost of one life? You know, you can't replace the value of one life no matter what the cost of the sprinkler system is. Ecological factors. You know, we start talking about our ecology and our resources, and again, water consumption, water use. You know, we're always trying to build bigger and better, and we need more water supply, water demand. As we stated earlier, again, with the installation of residential fire sprinkler systems, you don't have to have as big of water supply lines for fire protection purposes. And again, I'll just kind of speed up a little bit so we can get into the meat and potatoes. But the biggest thing for me is the thing that I wanted with this was to use it as an educational tool. I wanted as many people to come see it in its raw form, and hopefully with the agreement of the homeowner, continue to bring tours in and show this as hopefully this will kind of become a bug in the community, and we can start talking about it and really start to have this vision grow. Again, not getting into the legalities, residential fire sprinkler system isn't something new. It's been around for a long, long time. However, when it came out in the 2006 International Residential Code, the state of Kansas decided to go ahead and enact a state statute that basically does not allow any municipality to require the installation of a residential fire sprinkler system. It doesn't mean that we can't educate people and give them the opportunity to do it or the option to do it. It just says right now we just can't require it. In order for you to get a building permit, we can't require you to have a residential fire sprinkler system.
And the new laminated floor joists and things of that nature, new construction bills for attics and roofs and the same cost. I understand that. Don't forget the value. We're sending firefighters into structures that are built with lightweight construction today that fail much more quickly than what these 2-6s will fail, and things of that nature. So there is a safety factor for the firefighters as well. I don't know where the industry's going with lightweight construction, to be sure. I think that at some point they will define for us a time when there'll be no attack, no interior attack, based on the amount of fire exposure inside of the structure, because it comes down so suddenly. When these gussets and stuff get so hot that they come off these trusses and things, the whole thing just collapses. So just realize that as you move along that we need your help. If you move deeper into lightweight construction, this is certainly a way to counterbalance that as far as safety goes.
Thank you, Chief. That's pretty much it for the presentation component. Now I'd just like to talk a little bit about the actual sprinkler system itself. I also have our resident expert here, Joe Heinrich, so he can correct me when I'm wrong. Basically what you're looking at is what the NFPA standard identifies as a 13D or 13 domestic. It's tied directly off the domestic water supply. We did have to come in off our meter. We had to upsize up to 2 inches. We had to do a 2-inch upsize to our water supply in order to provide the adequate pressure for the actual system itself. As you can see, there's nothing really special about it. It's CPVC pipe. It's a special type of pipe that it actually has a fire rating to it a little bit better than what your regular domestic water supply CPVC pipe would do. One of the other code requirements, since we are in Kansas and we are subject to freezing, any pipe that's in the attic has to be tented. Had a question earlier about wrapping the pipe. You can do that, and as we kind of discussed it a little bit further, the only issue with that is the design of the tenting is to allow that radiant heat to get up into that cavity, for a lack of better term, and to actually continue to keep that pipe warm, versus if it was completely wrapped around, you wouldn't be able to get that heat actually onto the pipe itself.